Hi, it's Angie of angelascashes.org, Angela Power Disney, also Angie Power Disney on YouTube. Just let me get some water. Yeah, further to my two videos prepared for me regarding the Hoaxtead, as I would call it, trolling group. I just want to record some evidence of fallout, and I've had threats and trolling for 3 years now, and I went to the police, the Gardaí, once a year ago and got a report number and forwarded my evidence to other victims of Hoaxtead research. But at that time, Martin Donoghue advised me that Ireland didn't actually have any legislation for cybercrime, which is a bit shocking. And if that's still the case, that would go some way to explaining perhaps why, trying to get the lighting a bit better, that's better. That would go some way to explaining why perhaps there's a lot of crime going on unreported over here. But I'm not going to ramble on. I'm going to just document some evidence. I have made another report. The specialist from cybercrime is coming out to view the evidence, and I will have a Gardaí email address to forward evidence to. So where to start? The good news is that Stephen Keyes, aka Avid Mator, aka Post 9 on YouTube, has got in touch and said that yes, that has been him, and that he will not be commenting, blogging, involved with the case, Hampstead case, and I think he was also going after ICSA, maybe even Fresh Start, maybe also, you know, so many child abuse issues, and ironically, he's a survivor himself. So I respect him for coming forward. I respect him for stepping down, as he said he's done, and I wish him no ill will at all. I forgive him. There were people trying to rabble-rouse him to take action for defamation, but actually I have proof of defamation, including messages from him and conversations with witnesses from him saying he had absolute evidence I was transgender. And pathetic as that is, and I've never bothered addressing it, unlike the alleged abusers in the Hampstead case, I would be willing to go to a medical professional of anybody's choice to verify that that's a lie and that's liable. More seriously, a fake profile on YouTube going under the name of Butlin Dawg, D-A-W-G, which is a piss take of Butlin Cat, the blogger, posted some very malicious lies regarding my daughter and my grandchildren, which could have very serious ramifications if they had got legs. That's also an absolute outright provable lie. And, you know, trying to call me transgender because I have vocal injuries from childhood. Nothing to do with the cigarettes. I was called the whispering baritone from toddlerhood. My vocal cords were damaged. But, you know, that kind of thing is, it's like, whatever, you know. But putting my grandchildren in danger by telling absolute lies about a paedophile having access to them, no, beyond the pale. The most serious threat I've received has been from John Kilrush, aka John Kane, who spends time in Ireland. And this is why it becomes more of a live investigation in Ireland rather than just cybercrime. So even if Ireland haven't got their act together yet with cybercrime legislation, which I hope they have, but even if they haven't, this is a real live threat, which will engender an investigation. So I'll be producing, you know, the comments, the YouTube, the Facebook, the emails, the evidence. You know, fortunately, the Gardaí are not laughing me out of the barracks, as was indicated by a fake profile, Michael O'Brien, saying that, you know, why don't I spend my energy going after John Kilrush, who's got IDs in America, Ireland, and the UK? And he's saying that given that he's the head honcho in Satanism at the moment, why don't I go after that? And the truth is, hunting down Satanists is not my hobby. My goal, my primary goal, is to lead people away from that kind of diabolical, mafioso kind of a lifestyle where you're always looking over your shoulder, you don't know who's going to blackmail you next, you're tortured, you're tormented. You know, it's a highway to hell. My primary goal is to say you don't need to live like that. And it's not too late. As long as you've got breath in your body, it's not too late to just get on the right track and come back to Jesus, you know, or come to Jesus for the first time. My secondary goal is to rescue the children. I'm not interested in Satanist hunting. You know, let somebody else do that. That's not my thing. But when you threaten my children, my grandchildren, you know, it's irresponsible of me not to take action. So there is already action being taken by the UK victims and others. This is, you know, there are many people being victimised by this Hoaxtead research and their allies on YouTube. I noticed, I only check out Hoaxtead maybe every couple of months, but I noticed in a recent article they said, oh, we've got nothing to do with the people on YouTube. You know, you can search our blog and you'll not find one threat against anybody, and we're not associated with the YouTube profiles, but that's not true. That's patently not true. They post all the videos, and the same fake profiles that torture and torment and maliciously communicate with and threaten on YouTube also comment regularly on Hoaxtead. So I think what I'll just do, the first thing I want to find is the threat from John Kilrush, aka John Kane, you know, renowned to be a famous Satanist, and who made a credible threat against me at the weekend. So let's see if I can find that. Yeah, I have it in photographs. I'm sorry, guys. It's like I said, this is not my favourite thing to do. Gathering evidence on adults that are abusive is really not my favourite thing to do. This is lots of evidence or lots of messaging from Avid Mador, aka Stephen Keys. Yes, great. Goes to great lengths to give his side of the story, but I'm more. Here it is. Right, good. Now I'll just show you that. Although obviously I'll present it more legibly to the cops, the guards. So I'll read it to you. It's John Kilrush on a YouTube channel. Excuse my language. Angie, you fucking hag. You have been a joke, a person to laugh at for me, but now you've pissed me off. Don't think I'm some middle-class person who calls the police. You are within an hour of me if I wish to pay you a visit. Be fucking warned, and don't think the police can help you. And you put someone close to me in danger, watch your fucking back. So that's from John Kilrush. Now I'll, and then somebody else started messaging me, Michael O'Brien, but it's clearly a fake profile because he doesn't even know to put an apostrophe in O'Brien. So, but seemed to be very much in the know. So I'm going to read you pretty much all of his comments, because I put the I really tried to say, look, I'm not one for drama. Get Kilrush to retract the threat. I don't really want to bother the guards. But he just got a bit more brazen. So I'll read you all the messages from him. And for those that this is too detailed for, this is to do with the Hoaxtead case. For those that this is too detailed for, it's just evidence for the police as well. So forgive me. Right. So on March 1st, why are you slandering me and my friend? So far, we've left you alone, but if you put a young woman in her 20s in danger, you'll have me to deal with. So it was you who tried blackmailing her last week. Let me be very clear. I brought her into this world, and I will do whatever it takes to keep her safe. Do not test me. So I replied, who do you think I'm slandering? Be aware that if you threaten me, details will be passed to the police, and I never have or would blackmail anybody. Then he says, you're a sex offender. I've done fuck all to you. I even didn't push Rupert when he was pouring out stories of you abusing him. Now you attack my fucking friends and my business. Why? What the fuck have we ever done to you? So it could be Kilrush Guitars. It could be John Kane, a.k.a. John Kilrush. Maybe. We don't know. So I reply, I'm not a sex offender. Rupert knows damn well if he ever wanted to duke it out about an affectionate pat in passing after he had asked for a massage and was waiting for me to cook his dinner, he knows damn well he would be laughed out of court. Then the fake profile Michael O'Brien says, do you know why I go after Shirter? Do you know what he did? It's personal between me, her and him and nothing to do with you. I say, I don't know who you really are or if Kilrush Guitars is your business. I'm the least violent person in the world. If anything happens to me, the Kilrush threat to me on YouTube has hung him. He replies, Shirter took my friend for her money and drove her to attempt suicide. Then he issues a threat and says, if I wanted you hurt, you would be. So I said, is it Annie Casper you're referring to? And I said, Shirter, no matter how obnoxious, is a genuine survivor. He replies, again, this is the fake profile Michael O'Brien. No, he's not. No, it's not. It's Kilrush. Oh, right. So he's admitting to being Kilrush. That's interesting. Wow. And then he says, and you don't know my name, nor does anyone else online. But you've caused me a lot of trouble. Why? Because I laugh at you on YouTube. Wow, I didn't see that he'd admitted. Because I was asking, was it Annie Casper, the female he was referring to, that allegedly got driven to suicidal ideation by Shirter? So I said, is it Annie Casper? I was meaning the victim, and he says, no, it's Kilrush. So that's very interesting. He says, you don't know my name, nor does anyone else online. You know nothing, but you've caused me a lot of trouble. Why? Is it because I laugh at you on YouTube? I reply, I've got no problem being laughed at. I will respond in a while. And then I say, I wish everyone like me used their real names and had the courage of their convictions and a willingness to be right or wrong, but at least to dialogue like adults instead of fucking trolling. I'm a perfectly imperfect human being trying to stop child abuse and tell people Jesus loves them and can save them. Like, WTF, what the fuck? I'm sorry for the bad language, people. This has been a pretty heavy weekend. My poor children have to carry the can knowing their mum can be bumped off or persecuted while they're trying to have a life. And then I say, is Emily Thorne your daughter? Who have I hurt? It's impossible to keep up while we're all cloak and dagger. I pray for you and your loved ones that what the devil intended for harm, God will turn to good. And both Shirter and Barnett are genuine survivors. I would bet my life on it, and probably already have. And then I say, hurting people hurt people. So then he says, Emily Thorne, my daughter, are you taking the piss? And Shirter's no survivor. He's a child rapist, a 3-time child rapist. And don't give me rubbish about you being an activist. You lied about Ella and Dearman, saying that they were putting their kids in snuff movies. You wanted criminals, and you lied about Spiny Norman being a convicted pedo. I've seen Spiny's police records. Check. and he does not have a criminal record. And what you said about Avid was fucking cruel. He's nothing to do with Hoaxtead, and actually ran a Facebook group about Hampstead where he was on the fence. While you did this stupid video, I can only guess you've made some new enemies. More about Stephen Keyes. I have actual evidence and a witness of him defaming me, but that's not the point. So then I reply, I didn't lie about Spiny. I can dig out the messages sent by one of your own saying Spiny and at least one other at Hoaxtead are convicted paedophiles and recorded in the papers. Sadly, he didn't follow up, as promised, with evidence. Avid had a lot to do with Hoaxtead, and more info is still coming in. I've been very decent to him, and I'm due to speak with him again tomorrow. This was yesterday, I was messaging. Stephen backed out of doing an interview today, but I'll continue with that later. That video was the start of putting a stop to the torture myself and many, many others have been put through by lies in Hoaxtead. But at the end of the day, I want a proper investigation into the Hampstead case and evidence that the children are safe. I did not lie either about Ella being implicated in those children's abuse for years. This was intel given to me by a reliable source, but again, the evidence didn't come through. I could get paranoid and say people set me up, but hey-ho. And no matter how big a thug Abe was, he was not in the children's lives long enough to account for their evidence, both spoken and physical. He was being set up as a patsy, in my opinion. I didn't start campaigning for popularity or for enemies. I do it for my God and for children. I was that child once. He replies, Yanis doesn't know who Spiny is, so any info from him is bullshit. Your intel about Ricky Dearman and Ella was gossip, nothing else. And you only found the Hoaxtead Facebook accounts because they were set up for you to find. Well, actually, it was for Costa, Chris Costa, he's saying, but she wasn't stupid enough to take the bait. Your video exposed nobody apart from fake names. Hampstead has been investigated, and all that's left is for Abe to be sentenced and Sabine and Co. to spend the foreseeable future in trouble with the police. You would do well to remember the jury members at Rupert Quaintance's trial who were in tears for the Hampstead families caught up in this witch hunt that you and your friends have carried out. The public does not support you one bit. Hoaxtead was pretty much over until Thursday. It had been winding down since Rupert was sentenced, but you've pissed many people off and you will have to deal with that. Maybe that's what you want. So I reply, why would I want that? I take no pleasure in sadism, which is what it thrives on. A jury can be brought to tears by manipulation. For those who are innocent and were affected, I'm sad. But I didn't cause this. I didn't coach those children, and even Abe and Ella and any amount of torture could not, even Abe and Ella and any amount of torture could have those children testify as they did. Hampstead has been a hub of witchcraft and Satanism for centuries. The word heathen came from activities on Hampstead Heath. If you have any intelligence, which I suspect you do, you know that persecuting whistleblowers and concerned adults worldwide is a cheap and transient victory whilst children are still abused, trafficked and tortured. Many of you boast of your Satanism life choices. If you won't break free from your Satan, your Satan will deal with you, and he's not a nice taskmaster. He makes Hoaxtead look like child's play. If you want to come on camera and talk like an adult in an interview, you're welcome. Secrecy breeds sin, simple as. May God bless you, your God or mine. Then I say, I don't like drama, Michael. I'm too soft, but the kill rush threat needs reporting to the Gardaí, unless you can obtain a retraction for me. He says, you're going to be laughed out of the barracks, which is an Irish term for the police station. You think you can waste the time of police for your silly social media dramas. Well, those silly social media dramas flipped on their head, put Rupert Quaintance in prison for 9 months, or sentenced to 9 months, and have Sabine, almost 74-year-old disabled campaigner, back in prison because she phoned a charity and she went to a Church of England synod meeting about child abuse. That's counted as breach of bail and is being mounted as an attempt to steal the £20,000 bail that was raised for her. This is a campaigner against child abuse and forced adoption. So is it silly social media drama, or is it grounds to imprison people? You know, get your story straight, huh? So, your silly social media dramas. Have you ever looked at any of the Kill Rush profiles, by the way? They seem to be controlled by at least 3 people with Irish, British, and American IDs. One of them even claims to be a woman. Good luck. Hey, Dave Shurter claims Kill Rush is Doug Mesner. That would be a feather in your cap if you could take out the current satanic head. Kill Rush is not Doug Mesner, a.k.a. Doug Masico, a.k.a. Lucy Greaves. They're not the same person. Kill Rush is John Kane. He's probably got another name as well. So I just replied, satanic heads bore me when I'm not pitying them. Thank you for responding. So I'm just going to give you the read down on Stephen Keyes and one more person. I may not go into the whole thing from Heather Brown because she's agreed to come and do a show with me on Thursday and give me her information. But I'll read you the communications from Stephen Keyes because, you know, he was being jockeyed along by some, or why don't you sue her for defamation, when in actual fact it's me that could be doing that. You know, the other way round, except for I'm totally and utterly bored by adults fighting when children are being abused, neglected, tortured, trafficked, and murdered. But I'll read you Stephen Keyes. And I have some admiration for him, but he hasn't been completely straight because I've got substantial evidence from him, you know, from others that he was very involved with Hoaxtead, which is sad. So I think he messaged me on my other Facebook profile, and I got a 30-day ban on that for reposting something that Anthony Pike put out about Hoaxtead, and he's a bit less genteel than I am in the way he describes things. So that got me a 30-day ban on my main Facebook profile. So Stephen had contacted me on there, and I've just let him know I'm banned on there. I can't reply. So I'll just read from here. I'm sure you're well aware by now that threats have been directed at my wife and her workplace. There is more on my other phone. Maybe I'll start at the beginning. That's what I'll do. Because I can read the messages on my main profile. I just can't respond to them for 30 days. So I know this is all a bit old tech instead of putting it on screen share, but as I say, the guards are going to send somebody to take all this information. Here we go, Stephen Keyes. We'll start from the beginning. Here we go. So, and forgive me, Stephen, but you did say you would be happy to go on record and be asked anything, and then said you didn't want to. And I wish you no harm. I do accept that you're a survivor, and I think you were groomed. And the saddest thing is you saying and proclaiming yourself now as a Satanist. That makes me sadder than any amount of trolling you've done of me and others. So his first response to the video disclosures: how dare you? If you want to ask legit questions, ask. You're targeted by Parents Cafe because of my stance on Hampstead. If you have questions, ask. My name's not an anagram. My name is used because a YouTuber decided to hack my YouTube using my daughter's image. I'll speak to my parents about your defamation, which he spells deformation. When you're ready, answer this. This is completely disgusting. I hope you're proud of what you've done. I haven't trolled anybody, which is not true, and I've got much evidence of that. I asked a few questions on Chris's group and then was banned. That's Chris Costa. If you want to know who I am, why not ask? Why are you targeting my parents' cafe? You're disgusting and should be ashamed of yourself. If anyone decides to try and target my parents, I'll be calling the police. Now, all that was said was that given that Stephen had been identified as one of the Hoaxtead trolls, and given that his parents run a cafe and work in a program in conjunction with some charity and Tesco's where they have autistic people come and dig a garden and maintain a garden and work in the cafe, that the son of that cafe's proprietors, who also works there, given, you know, albeit one day a week and not the same day as the autistic volunteers. But what was suggested in the video was that if somebody can be such a diabolical troll online, they might need some retraining in order to be around disabled youngsters, vulnerable youngsters. So that's the point the video made. So I said, I'm not targeting you. Please feel free to engage. And if updates need to be made, I will make them on camera. He says, speak to me then. My parents do not deserve any of this. I've never engaged in trolling. Lie. Why not look at Chris's page? I asked legitimate questions about Hampstead. I've spoken to Abe's stepdaughter, and I have concerns for what she told me also. I've never once engaged with anything with you or others. I have my own point of view on Hampstead, and for doing that, I'm being called all kinds of disgusting things. That's not fair. He thinks the gentleman does protest too much. Abe's stepdaughter has to stay out of this, but she did speak out. There are reasons for that. As for why his ex-wife won't talk about what he did to her also, that's my part. I've spoken to his ex-stepdaughter. I have my point of view on Hampstead as you do. That should be that. I have mental health issues and this is unjustified. So I say I do not work with Chris nor trust her. Comments about Abe's stepchild are valid. I'm told you're a female solicitor. Now this is me getting things wrong. So I got the wrong end. I said, I'm told you're a female solicitor and we can connect on camera or audio only tomorrow, anytime between 2 and 6 if that suits. I'm currently dealing with frozen pipes and plumber issues. He says, no, I'm not female and you know I'm not a solicitor. If I was, why would I be working in a CAF? So I said, many of Hoaxtead victims are disabled and some have been suicidal with their targeting. He says, I have no idea about that. I've commented on Hoaxtead. That's my crime. Well, that's not true. He has admin privileges at the very least. And I say, it matters little to me who works at what. I'm only in pursuit of truth and the rescue of abused children. If you would like to tomorrow, please let me know. It's not a crime to comment there or anywhere. So he says, if that's the case, that's worrying. I don't know what he means by that. But I do not engage in trolling. Again, this is not true. And I have evidence, screenshots, witnesses, and so on. I have my own points of view on Hampstead. It seems it must be a crime. My parents are being targeted by your video. That's not fair game. I've had someone make a video about me in the past. That scared me as he used a video to get at me. Hello? Have you read Hoaxtead blog for the last 3 years? Have you seen the diabolical YouTube trolling channels in association with Hoaxtead? Have you seen how many of them have been taken down by YouTube? That's funny. Somebody made one video about you and it scared you. Walk a mile in my shoes, or many, many other people's shoes. That scared me as he used a video to get at me. That's not on. Sorry, he used an image of my daughter and that's why I chose to use this fake name. And I said, nobody made a video about you or your parents. That's what I'm talking about, the Anons that have worked with me on this expose. I said, set a time tomorrow and I'll be happy to connect. And he says, I do not want to be part of your work, to be honest. I don't trust your motives after this. Any questions could have been asked before. But you've gone ahead and made lurid accusations about me and my parents' business. I don't care about what you think of me, but using my parents' cafe is wrong. They are hardworking people serving the local community. If you want to phone me, do so. I will not be going on camera. I cannot speak over the weekend as I have my daughter. For the record, my real name is Steve Keys. I was targeted by a YouTuber called Code2222 who didn't like me, saying he was wrong to go to Christchurch School calling a woman a baby eater in front of a young girl. I've since changed my name on here. Well, it's long that you've been using Post9 as a fake avatar on YouTube. Was that before or after you had a falling out with Code? Don't know. So if you wish to call me, do so, but I will not consent to that being used for your agenda. I'm originally from Tottenham, and that's why it wasn't hard to find Abe's ex-wife and ex-stepdaughter. Hello, Tottenham's quite big. She still has nightmares about how Abe was to her, and I believe you on this. I believe it, and I'm happy to interview her or talk to her. She still has nightmares about how Abe was to her and her siblings and wants him to come back and face justice. My phone number is, please don't hand this out to people who wish to harass, which I wouldn't. If you'd like to talk, do so today. I was dealing with a bloody flood. Are you mad? Otherwise, my time on the weekend is devoted to my daughter. And please leave my daughter out of this. I would not dream of going after your children or anybody's children. It's just a shame you didn't afford me the same respect. So he says, you yourself state you have evidence on Ella. Why not hand that over to the police? So I respond, okay, thanks for your transparency and trust. I have no agenda but truth and safety for children. I will contact you tomorrow. I do not involve children of targeted individuals. My own children have suffered hugely. Tomorrow's not the weekend, it is Friday. I need to attend to burst water pipes. He says, I'm not available to talk tomorrow. I have to travel to pick up my daughter. If you want to call before 2, then you can do so. But please amend the video about my parents' cafe. That's not fair to target a business. Really? Really? If I was looking for work, I could never again find employment online because of what you and your colleagues at Hoaxtead Research have done to my reputation, and many, many others. That's not fair to target a business, considering if some unhinged person decides to target it, that would be on you. So I said, the cafe is not specifically identified, nor any incitement to targeting. I'll call you at 12 noon tomorrow. So he puts thumbs up. Then he says, you're claiming as my father allows Action for Kids to gain much needed work experience and also an edible garden to which they can use, that it's somehow wrong? Do you not think Action for Kids know my father and the work he does for them? My dad has an autistic man who works one day with him and allows the use of the garden. It was Action for Kids who applied for the garden there, as my dad gives 5% income to them a year. My mother's an ex-childminder with 30 years experience, all CRB checked. Well, that's nice, and your parents are probably lovely people, you know, but it's no guarantee working with children and disabled children and giving 5% away of your income is no guarantee of safety for children. And to be honest, the video was never directed at the safety for children. It was directed at you, with what you've done for 3 years, Stephen Keys, Avid Mator, Post 9, your suitability to be around vulnerable disabled children with your day job being such vicious trolling. So he says, in future, my real name is being used on Facebook. So if I decide to put my point of view across, it will be done in my own name. As Chris and others have my comments on their pages, they will be aware of who I am. As for Karen and Ray, he's talking about Karen Irving and Ray Vark, probably fake names. Ray added me, as he's seen my comments on Chris's page where I asked questions on the logistics of such a cult. Karen Irving also added me. You see, they groom vulnerable survivors, rebels without a cause with misdirected anger. This is terrible. Yes, if Karen does run Hoaxtead, she runs a blog. So how is she aware of people who comment on the blog? That's an unfair point. Really? You run a blog and you're not aware of the comments on it? Strange. I've no idea if people are trolling autistic children or adults. My daughter's brother is autistic and I think that's sick. All trolling is wrong. I'm glad to hear that. Right now, I don't know whether to inform my dad that his cafe could be targeted or not. That's not something a man in his 60s should have to put up with. So I reply, I'm 60 and Sabine's almost 74. I would advise, do not frighten your parents. That video is not an incitement to violence. It's primarily evidence for the police, who have already visited one victim and listened to it. If we both oppose trolling, we're on the same side. Then he says, it's claiming that by accusation I and others are hiding pedos and trolling autistic people. If you look on my friends list, you will see I work with Sarah Reeves. I don't know who she is. A child victim abuse who runs the team. TED database reporting when pedos are released from jail for the protection of people in those towns. I'm a survivor of abuse also, and I have bipolar as a result. I help Sarah and others with research. Roger Gleaves' whereabout was reported to the mainstream by someone I know. I have issues with Sabine as she never distanced herself from Terence Ewing. Gleaves got out of jail early because of Terence and was never brought to justice for the children he murdered. Oh, we're on the same side with that information. I replied, I don't have time to read all of the above yet, but I have issues with Sabina, Belinda, etc. too, over Ewing and Greaves, etc. I just want those children located and safe and their abusers brought to justice. Then he replies, yes, apart from I feel the abuse happened at the hand of the mother and her abusive partner. Even if we disagree on this case, we still want these children to be able to live a normal life and be healed from all they've suffered. From what I know about Abe's history, he's a dangerous, manipulative sociopath, damaged by strong cannabis. He once made his ex-stepchildren stay away from their father. They never got the chance to make it up to him and tell the truth. He died before they had the chance. That's sad. I'm sorry about that. If at one stage you weren't so pro-Ella, if at one stage who wasn't so pro-Ella, perhaps Abe's ex, maybe I think he means if I hadn't been so pro-Ella, which I was in the early days, maybe Abe's ex-stepdaughter would have put the record straight. Well, you're still welcome to, sweetheart, and I'm sorry for all you went through. She's still hurting after all she went through and for warning Ella before she went to Morocco. And then he says, my crime is not supporting the Hampstead case, i.e. the narrative. Did Bill Maloney? Did John Wedger? What about Melanie Shaw? I have evidence of Abe's behaviour, not to mention him historically trying to rape my aunt in a back alley near my mum's flat. Yet I'm being accused of all manner of stuff, and then my parents' business is being scrutinised. I'm glad you've downgraded it to scrutinised from targeting. Instead of anyone actually asking questions to me direct, a video is made questioning me and my family's business. Why? At least when I asked Chris questions, she replied in kind. However, she then decided to put that public. Nothing at all about my parents, just my questions and concerns. So I said, I'll have the cafe blacked out, but a re-edit will take time. I still don't have a plumber, and I have an overflow issue in a snow blizzard. And to be honest, you yourself have trolled disabled survivors, so it's not as simple as saying you just don't believe the Hampstead children. He says, thanks, that's awful. We've no insulation in our loft due to rats, something our housing trust are hugely ignoring us with. Thanks. I can guarantee that my dad runs that cafe as a means, not just as a business. He was born close by. It's his way of trying to improve the reputation of the area. I've never trolled anyone. Not true. Sorry, Steve, not true. I ask legit questions of Hampstead since the beginning. If Ray is or has trolled innocent people, that's truly fucked up. Good, I'm glad we agree on that. Why would I dare troll people like that? My daughter's brother has Asperger's and my own cousin has cerebral palsy. I'm sorry about that too, but disabled doesn't just mean physical or disabilities like autism or Asperger's or cerebral palsy. Almost all survivors of childhood sexual abuse, and especially ritual abuse and so on, are disabled from it. Many of them commit suicide. Many of them get lost in addiction. A few survive and try and speak out. But they are subject to complex post-traumatic stress disorder. They are subject to flashbacks, terrors, anxiety, any amount of triggering. And it's a shame you guys didn't think about that sooner than this. So he says, I work with people such as Danny from the Shatter Boys, or rather I helped him when he was being attacked by UK Column. I also work with Sarah, who runs TED Database. All trolling is immoral. As someone who was not only trolled by code 2222, and then for him to use my daughter's image to get at me, I never acted in kind. I asked him over several months to remove the image. In the end, he did. Stephen Keys is my real name. I use the name Post9 online as it's my music account. I had no connection to anyone before this case. Yanis knows that. Well, that's funny. Using Yanis as a character reference is ironic. I don't know. Yanis knows that. I spoke to him when it first came out on YouTube and Facebook. I don't know if Yanis is trustworthy, to be honest, and I haven't spoken to him for over a year. I spoke to a few people at the beginning of the case online. Then Hoaxtead came online. I used it to comment. Yes. He didn't just use it to comment. There is no way of proving something that you're claiming. I did. Yes, there is. And it's proved. As I've never attacked disabled people. Yes, you have. I'm one. I have debated honestly online. I ran the Hampstead group on Facebook and I was always fair to whoever commented. Well, I think you got booted out of that group, didn't you, sweetheart, in the end? I do not know Ray personally. I do not know anyone connected to trolling disabled people. Again, you're using blinkers. I went to Sabina Nilu's trial and I met a young woman who commented on Hoaxtead and some of the mothers. Yes. Jake Clark can confirm that, as he offered me water healing. He also refers a bit later to trolling on Mumsnet, which is sad. So with regard to Yanis, I said he's part of Hoaxtead. I believe he was charged with having serious child porn on his home computer. I believe he got off on a technicality that they could not prove it was him that downloaded it because he had 2 adult sons living with him. He got off, but social took his daughter off him as at risk. And then he says, at least the people I met at Nilu and Sabine's trial said they were Hampstead mums. And he says, with regard to Yanis, that's disgusting, I'll remove him now. So I said, right, well, we can discuss all this tomorrow. I have to take care of my house. Then he says, I was part of a Google group on Hampstead. Then Hoaxtead came about. Yanis was also. I know Yanis had concerns about Hoaxtead. He did, because he's tried to break out a few times, but never quite successfully. I found no evidence of what he was claiming. Yanis was claiming that at least 2 convicted paedophiles were included in the Hoaxtead core group. He said he had a hunch about, and that was about it. No problem. I hope you get it sorted and keep warm. So I said, I haven't had time to read all of the above. Do you know anything about a copyright claim on one of the videos? Actually, it wasn't the videos. It was, I think the Karen Irving one was banned in Canada because there are 2 Karen Irvings in Canada, same name, different people. So one of the videos is banned in Canada. So he says, no, I don't know the first thing about reporting on YouTube. I've had my own videos down for a few seconds of BBC footage and songs down for containing samples. So if you don't know anything, you know, how do you know how to make videos that get taken down of BBC footage and songs? I know YouTube's going on with a purge at the minute with offending and non-offending videos and channels. As far as I'm concerned, if all mention about the cafe is removed, people can speculate about me. I would rather that wasn't the case, but I can confirm I've not reported the video, nor do I know how. If I did, I would have had the video code 2222 made about me taken down. So I said, okay, I believe you. The video is being edited with cafe blacked out. I don't know any more than that. He said, that's fine. I'd rather people didn't assume that I trolled disabled people or what other things are being alluded to about me. However, I can't prove that. No, you can't. Anyone can claim anyone is doing such. They can give proof as well, which they have. It's best to have actual evidence, I'm used to being called a troll by people who don't like my stance on Hampstead. However, I've always stayed on point and never attacked anyone. Not true. The Hampstead group on Facebook will show that. Chris Costa knows from her post on me that I was neither rude nor aggressive. Has anyone actually made complaints about my parents' cafe? I said no. Someone just tried to take a video down on copyright, probably because screenshots, but I don't think the video was taken down. I will upload the edited one in the morning anyway. I don't like or trust Chris Costa or Yanis. He says, neither do I. I spoke to Yanis for a while at the beginning of the case. Then I was warned how he was trolling people on Mumsnet. That's interesting. Then I say, by the way, it was Yanis I was referring to with porn on home computer, to be clear. I'm running a bit late. I'll call you in 10. Then he says, wow, I wouldn't have expected that of him. I knew he was trouble and not to be trusted, but I never expected that of him. Then I say, I put this in the description box of the video pending the edit and returned it to unlisted. Due to information coming in, I'm reverting this video to unlisted pending an edit with small corrections. I welcome contact corrections and especially additional information and can be contacted via Facebook Messenger or email angelapowerdisney@gmail.com. And he says, right, thank you, I'll add you on Monday, which he didn't do. He backed out of today's call. Right, so now Heather's targeting my wife and her workplace. This is out of hand now. Now, you say Heather was targeting, but apparently it was a fake profile by the name of Susu. Whether they're the same person, I don't know. And he says, you people are claiming I'm linked to trolling disabled people, claiming my dad shouldn't run a cafe. No, we didn't claim that. Linking me to serious snuff. We didn't say that. Now bringing my wife into this. It's gone past harassment now. This video is going after me. Now someone's commenting about where my wife works. I have 2 friends on Facebook you're making lurid claims about, and that makes me guilty? These people, if they only knew what they put people through for the last 3 years. So the Susu comment, which apparently was submitted to Hoaxtead Research as a post or a comment, and only an admin would have had access to that. And apparently it wasn't posted on the Hoaxtead blog. So how does Stephen have access to that message if he's not an admin? So he posted this on his Facebook wall. He didn't post who it was from, and he tried to assert that it was from Heather Brown, but my understanding at the moment, it was from somebody that would contribute to Hoaxtead under the name Susu. So the message says, from Susu to Steve, "You said no one could trace you, ? How come you're being outed spectacularly by idiots, ? Oh, an avid Mador, aka Stephen Keys, and wife, some of our coven live right beside you. Our initiates are very close to you in Tesco, Snigger." This is where his wife works. "And you are pathetic and worthless. Also, nobody cares if you're suicidal, okay? Jolly good, LMFAO." Now, I don't endorse messages like that. And if that's the way Satanists treat each other, because Stephen Keys is an avowed, publicly declared Satanist himself, then I'd rather be a Christian any day. So he says, he's trying to put this on me now, that somebody who submitted to Hoaxtead, the comment wasn't published, but Stephen somehow has access to it and publishes it on his page. Now, unless he's an admin at Hoaxtead, he wouldn't have access to that. So he said, "Thanks so much." And then she says, "Yolanda passed the message on to me about you. Yolanda passed the message on about you, Reverend Pike and co, taking things to the next level." So she possibly reported that Facebook post that I reposted about Anthony Pike. "Seems this is it. Well, for now, I've been open and honest to you about how I know Abe's ex-stepdaughter and ex-wife." Yes, you searched them out in Tottenham, which you said was very easy. I'm curious about that. "And how I was in a Google group before Hoaxtead. I've stated I know no one from Hoaxtead personally, i.e. in real life, even though you met them at Sabina Neelu's court case. So I'm being, what, targeted as part of a snuff gang? That my dad's cafe garden shouldn't have got funding? That my wife's workplace and her job is being targeted? This is out of hand. This is what we've lived with for 3 years, Stephen. I've said I'll be open and honest about any questions now. Bringing my wife into this and her job, we're both struggling financially. She works part-time. I've got £7 employment support for liver disease and bipolar. As you people go on about targeted individuals, you're even targeting people who've never commented on Hampstead. No, I'm not. I have Heather's email address and I will question her on that threat. If she continues and actually harasses my wife, police will be called." As I say, Heather's willing to come and do a show on Thursday, and you're willing to have whatever interactions you have, as it seems you've been in touch for quite a while. So I say, I have no contact with Heather. You're very much underplaying your role over the past 3 years. I'm sad to see you reverting to Avid Mador name, and I still wonder why you use an anagram of a man who's also been badly trolled and cyberbullied. He says, my role, asking questions and commenting on Hampstead. I've trolled anyone. That's a bit of a Freudian slip. He probably meant to say I have not, but he says I have trolled anyone. That's fact. Ask anyone who see how I ran the Hampstead group on Facebook. Polite and balanced. Well, why did so many people block you? Why did you get actually thrown out of that group? Or ousted, or whatever happened. I don't know. It wasn't a group I participated in. He says, I used an assumed name as Code2222, hacked my YouTube and used an image of my daughter. Avid Mador, play on words. Avid as in avid and Mador as in madder. Now I thought if I used my real name, if people were to try and attack my family, it would be clear. So my parents are being targeted. I'm now a troll and my wife's going to be targeted. You have no proof I'm a troll. Yes, I do. I've only commented about what I know about the Hampstead case without naming Abe's stepdaughter and wife. What's next? My daughter's brought into it her mother. All for what? I have Facebook friends because I'm Facebook friends with Karen. Talking about Karen Irving. I said to call me as I have nothing to hide and I'm willing to answer any of your questions. Do that. I was still dealing with the flood. So I said, I'm also considered disabled due to complex PTSD, catastrophic surgery, osteoarthritis, osteopenia, etc., etc. I try to spend Saturdays offline and in real life and have my children and grandchildren around weekends. I will Skype with you on Monday as arranged. Go do something to calm down. You had to know the risks you were putting your loved ones at by your involvement with Hoaxtead. So he says, I was polite on the phone. I haven't reacted with anger, although what is being assumed is serious. I'm still willing to talk, but it seems as a result of this video, someone's going on about my wife and where she works. I'm not involved with Hoaxtead. Lie. I've commented on the blog. I have Karen and Ray as friends on Facebook. That's it. By getting involved with Hoaxtead and knowing the risks, this is still him, using a blog to comment. No, I didn't know the risks. Now this video is a day old, is now being used to try and target my wife. I can only assume what's next. Thanks, all. So real victimhood going on here. Real like, poor me, poor me, poor me. Anyway. So I said, I'm going offline again today, but Heather Brown is saying that you run Hoaxtead. I told her I didn't believe that, but my suggestion to you for Monday is to give as much info as you have, or they will try and scapegoat you. Now, it's interesting that he's saying his two main contacts are Ray Vark and Karen Irving. So he continues on this phone because Yolandi or somebody managed to get me a 30-day ban on the other profile based on Anthony Pike's not mincing words. So I'll read on. Sorry if this is boring. This is evidence for the police and for anybody that follow this closely. For the multiple commenters on Stephen's page about you poor thing. We know you're a survivor and do you need help? And, oh, I'll go and hack her. And do you want me to help you go to the police? And, oh, she's defaming you. You know, so any of those that are that interested to follow that comment thread, here's some input for you to consider. So, I'm sure, this is Stephen again, I'm sure you're well aware by now that threats have been directed at my wife and her workplace. She's absolutely clueless for why she's being pulled into all of this, but that's all part of the game, it seems. If people wish to put their concerns to me, there's a public post open. However, it seems a few people do have my back. They don't like how this video has clear defamation, again spelled deformation, such as alluding to me being some dodgy solicitor called David Omar or whatever. No, it questioned whether you'd used an anagram of that solicitor's name, as he's also been targeted and trolled. That my parents' business needs to be looked into. I expected as soon as I saw the video to see further attacks on my person. I do not have a way of predicting the methods of sociopaths. What were you doing working with them then? Who may find the video as a complete truth. To be honest, I'm still coming to terms with this game. I will continue in my best ability to mask my down at present as to perform my role as a husband, son, and a grandfather. But to see the latest threat now aimed at my wife and her workplace by a so-called coven, that's way out of hand. That's not anything to do with me. I'm nothing to do with covens. There's a saying my English grandpa used to say, show me your company and I'll show you your character. So again, when you became a Satanist, what did you expect, Stephen? Seriously, what did you expect? For you, for your girlfriend, for your baby mother, for your daughter, what did you expect? A walk in the park, like a picnic? Then he says, if you and your family have suffered at the hands of trolls, I can only sympathise with you all. Thanks. People have shown my best support this weekend, and that means a hell of a lot to me. These people are my backbone, my family, people who make great strides in helping survivors and families. I said you were not accused in the video of being the solicitor, but simply of using an anagram of his name for your sock account. It was me got muddled on that issue. And it was simply stated that you might want to take some training into sensitivity around disabled people, because many that you have trolled via Hoaxtead, including myself, are classified as disabled. He said, I don't work with disabled people. So I said, why did the threat, which you say came from Heather, have the top and bottom clipped off with no identifiers? Oh, because I don't wish to give out personal emails. So I said, you can redact an email address and still leave the name visible. Didn't have time to do that. I will if need be. Well, that's good. And then I said to him, today, how are you today? Are you happy to do a proper on-camera interview about 2 o'clock? I don't want to cause you more stress, so if you're not able, that's fine. That's me saying that. Because, you know, so many survivors, vulnerable, angry people are recruited into Satanism and into just being the foot soldiers. They're not the organ grinders, they're just the monkeys. And it saddens me. He says, I don't see the point, to be honest. I don't know what you're expecting from me or how you feel I can help. I was heavily down this weekend. I don't really feel deserving of all this, nor from Heather and Sue's antics. So I said, I don't know who Sue is. I also had a traumatizing weekend with serious threats. I wanted to give you a platform to bring your evidence about Abe, his stepchildren, your aunt, etc., and to say how you were brought into Hoaxtead, even if only as a commenter, although it seems you were an admin. I never was interested in fighting with adults, especially fellow survivors, but I've been seriously trolled and defamed for 3 years, including by you, of which I have proof. My goal is to have the Hampstead case reopened and properly investigated and to locate and verify the children are safe. End of. I said, Heather's agreed to do an interview Thursday and I will not encourage trolling behaviour, but thought you might want to put your side across first. So again, he says, I've trolled no one. I've set my goals only to see Abe's ex-stepdaughter get justice for her siblings. I can't go on the record with that, as she can't either, for fear of hurting her siblings. I'm of the impression that as long as the children are safe, that's all that matters. I don't know where they are, but it's suggested they're in care and doing well. If it was publicly announced where they are, people would be interested in locating them to bring them to Ella. It's a double-edged sword. My side to put across is I've used Hoaxtead blog. Now he says he's used it. Ran a Facebook group of which I was bullied out. Things are being suggested about the Hoaxtead blog that I know nothing about. I do not know anyone from Hoaxtead publicly. I probably met one, maybe two, at Sabina Nilu's trial. They could have been Hoaxtead, maybe not. I was in a Google group before Hoaxtead with a few people, again, only knowing names given online. I feel no wrongs for anyone. If people break the law, i.e. breaching bail terms, that's not great, and that's not something I will have pity for. He's referring to 74-year-old disabled Sabine McNeil here. And breaching her bail terms consists of going to a Church of England synod meeting about child abuse and then phoning a charity when she was feeling vulnerable. That's called breaching her bail conditions, so he has no pity for that. For everyone's sake, I hope Ella and Abe come back soon, as that ties up loose ends. If Ella faces the court and is found guilty, those who believe the kids were coached will be happy, and it will also help her supporters to claim she's been framed, thus becoming a martyr. I'm sorry, but a video aimed at me and others speculating with very spurious claims, tantamount to defamation, again spelled deformation, aiming to harassment is not the way to conduct dialogue. I've been upfront and honest. As I said, if people were forthcoming to have asked me questions, I would have done that. Why didn't you ask me if I was a transgender, you plonker? Seriously. And that's the least offensive of things you've said to people about me. There's a post open on my page for all to see. If people wish to come on, speculate or ask questions, my parents' cafe is brought into this, the work of action for kids, the suggestion that I'm some dodgy solicitor, no. Going on the record will archive little or nothing. I question your motive onto why you wish for me to go on the record, to be honest. You want intel on people I don't know. As both these people's pages are open, he means Karen Irving and Ray Vark. Perhaps it's best putting your questions to them. Good idea, I might do that. As for Heather or Sue and her threat to my wife and her workplace, way below the belt. That's serious. Are you for real? Welcome to my world. Welcome to Sabine's world. Welcome to Rupert's world, who spent 4.5 months in jail and a year on bail in a foreign country. Sabine, who's been arrested 8 times and is in prison right now for going to a Church of England synod meeting and for calling a charity, and originally arrested for trying to expose alleged abusers and an improper investigation. The police, International Police Complaints Commission, have concurred with 2 complaints, one of which is that it appears that DC Steve Martin led the children in their retractions. The police have suggested another complaint requesting he be removed from the Hampstead case, which is basically just going after the whistleblowers and campaigners, because the case was shut down after 12 days. So, sorry. Right, way below the belt. That's serious and could easily be passed on to the police or my local ward. I hope this blows over. He's talking about the threat from one of his, cohorts on Hoaxtead. That's nothing to do with me. All things Hampstead, from my perspective, have done. I'm no longer wishing to comment on the case. I'm no longer giving my assistance to a panel member of the ICSA and the assistance I was giving to a certain ex-pop star, fitted up by the NOTW and 2 well-known people in the alternative media. So he helps. Sounds like you help paedophiles, sweetheart. Also, I have terminated my new blog. It's interesting. You gave yourself away there. Your new blog? What was your old blog? Hoaxtead Research. You bragged about it in person to people you know face to face. You bragged about your blog. Not your new blog on politics, your existing blog, Hoaxtead Research. I'm going to write and make music and finally get round to some reading. So I say, I doubt the police or state would prosecute Ella, even though I suspect she was complicit, because she would have the right to cross-examine the witnesses and produce evidence which would incriminate them. Abe, I suspect, is a thug, but the timeline takes him out of the frame for the abuse disclosed in the videos and the medical evidence of chronic, long-term trauma to the anus and vagina of those children. Nobody disputes that he only met Ella in May of 2014. And thus he cannot be the suspect for that documented chronic long-term injury with scarring and so on. Although I agree he was abusive to the children in other ways. I have no agenda other than for you to take responsibility for your part in the past 3 years trolling and for you to name others before you are possibly scapegoated. You are a Satanist by your own admission, and on a personal level that makes me sad. Survivors are so easily groomed for evil intent, but your choices are your own. I'm not coming on your page, but you're welcome to publish any or all of my messages. I have a screenshot of you telling someone, I admit, Disney admits to being transgender. She admits to it. And a witness saying in a phone call she had with you that you told her you were 100% sure of that she should trust you. You absolutely knew that to be fact. I said, unlike the Hampstead accused, I'm willing to have my GP or a consultant confirm that to be untrue. And if you choose to pursue a defamation case, I would counter-sue and attend any medical professional of your choice and at your expense to confirm that that was slander and a lie. I'm not interested in fighting with fellow survivors, and I would prefer you just to publicly retract that and other statements you made about me. If you want to apologize, that's fine. I forgive you anyway. So he says, you're asking me things I know nothing about. I do not know anyone on Hoaxtead by first name terms. I know the same as you do in respect to names used online. In the Google group, it was names used online. I don't want to pursue anything legal. For a start, I've got little or no money. I feel genuinely put off from offering help to people like Danny, aka the Shatter Boys, who has complaints logged to the same police via the IICSA. I don't want to put anyone's nose out of joint. It's all a bit late, but it's still progress. I have associated online with people from Hoaxtead, as I say, from a Google group. That must have been well over 3 years ago. That's interesting, because cases only been public 3 years. So it'd be good for the police to maybe get some info on that Google group from you. And when it started. 1 or 2 people may make me aware if people have sent in comments to Hoaxtead. 1 or 2 people may make you aware. bullying and that type of thing, or perhaps to tell me intel about court cases up and coming. So you're on the inside. Just take responsibility, Steve. And then I've worked with a blogger who was targeted heavily by a gang for over 6 years. Most of what he writ has now come to pass. I was also attacked by these people through association. So you do know, be careful who you associate with. Old Holborn's gang of trolls and others connected. People seriously don't want the ICSA to happen, as well as the Fresh Start Foundation and Janine Rennie, who wants the Fresh Start Foundation to have their own inquiry supported by the UK column. For an inquiry like that, you need the right staff, qualified staff, and a QC. I think it's a dangerous thing for them to ask survivors to come forward to them with testimonies. I have faith that the ICSA has to be seen to be doing things right for survivors of past and present. Why the UK column continue to undermine the ICSA, serious questions need to be asked. Also, one person I see commenting on Belinda's page has stated that she has a recording of David Scott, UK column with Special Branch. Kimberly James is the person that has that recording. If you want a scoop, that's it right there. As to why the UK column and those connected do not want public inquiries into child abuse unless it's their own. So I said, I make an average 20 quid a week from journalism I do. Regardless of trolling, that hardly amounts to a scammer chasing down scoops. I have little to do with UK column, though Brian Gerrish sent me an email appreciating my work. He and Scott may or may not be Freemasons and may or may not have special branch and police contacts. I don't really care. I said, I reported to ICSA. They said my report wouldn't be included because it hadn't been reported to the police, which it had. Wiltshire Police, Avon and Somerset as well. I said, ICSA also sent me somebody else's entire testimony and then said it was an administrative error. They lost 2 weeks of online submissions, allegedly. They have no legal power to do anything except cost multi-millions, make legal professionals richer, and admittedly get compensation for the victims whose testimonies are accepted. Much has been done to raise awareness, and I'm glad of that. Some survivors, including veteran campaigner Brian Clare, say they've been victimised by Daniel of Shatterboys, and if that's true, it's wrong and it's tragic. So he says, I've no idea about that, i.e. Danny, but I have seen the testimonies of those he has helped. I only wish people like him existed when I tried to get help. I could only get counselling via a place for criminals called the Violence Institute, and it had some very questionable therapy. Wow. Ooh. My hope is the ICSA create better safeguarding measures across the board for future generations. I give him a thumbs up. And then he quotes me saying to him, you're a Satanist by your own admission, and on a personal level that makes me sad. And then now come on, Stephen. He says, if by owning books by Blake and Dante makes me a Satanist, then I guess that's what I am. I'm agnostic, Christian Church of English. He had 666 and Satan all over his profile, an upside down pentagram. Come on. I've read Dante's Inferno. Come on. There's a considerable amount of messaging from Heather too, but as she has agreed to come on camera on Thursday, I'll let her speak for herself. I've also had others contact me with evidence of Steve's trolling. So I admire you for coming forward, Stephen. I hope that's cleared up things. And I suggest you take a deep breath and just take responsibility. It's not all about, oh, poor me, why am I being targeted? That's what you put people through for 3 years. So let's unite on helping children and stop attacking and trolling the adults. Let's also spare a thought for Sabine, who's been committed to jail again. She had applied to be a person of interest in the ICSA inquiry and sadly was turned down because it couldn't be proven that the alleged Hoaxtead case was institutional. That was the bad news. The good news was Greville Janner's son didn't get accepted either. So Sabine's trial, I don't know if it's been brought forward from November to the 19th of March or whether the 19th of March is just a breach of bail hearing. I don't know, but it's scandalous. It's so, the targeting of Sabine has been so bizarre. It makes you want to pinch yourself. It makes you want to even ask, is it a psyop? It's like, can the British justice system and the police, can they, are they for real? Are you having a laugh? Are you having a giraffe? Like, it beggars belief. It really, you are shooting yourself in the foot. If you want to re-highlight the Hoaxtead case, bad enough that you put an American citizen journalist on bail for a year, without permission to work, with all his tools of working gone anyway, and then in prison in Wandsworth for 9 months, 4.5 months served. If that wasn't bad enough, you're persecuting a 74-year-old disabled woman who's spoken at the European Parliament. An academic, renowned academic, genius mathematician, blogger, tragicomedy, the comedy of errors that has been the police and the judicial response to the tragic testimonies of the Hoaxtead 2 more than 3 years ago. Angela'sCashes.org, Angie Parrott Disney on Facebook, although I keep that profile small. It's mostly family and friends. And some other time when I can be bothered, I'll address, I won't even address the trolling that's still going on Hoaxtead research. I hope the police will start to address that now. And other anons, if you have any information. To me, it's secondary. The adults covering up the Hoaxtead case is just white noise. I'm really interested in knowing where the children are. I don't need their personal location. I want to know, and I want to transparently see, as do millions, that they are safe. And the investigation needs to be reopened. And as recently suggested by the UK police, Steve Martin needs taking off the case. The IPCC conceded that he appeared to lead the children in their retractions. That's absolutely enough grounds for him to be taken off the case. God bless. Do share this.